Hello and welcome to Jackson's Job. Today we are going to explore the French macaron. We will do some tinkering with oven temperature, placement, and other variations of this finicky little delicacy. This was a request by a viewer of a previous video, Jean-Charles. I thought it was a brilliant idea, so it's been a work in progress for months now. Just as I was finishing up, another viewer, Affy, had a tip for us as well, so we decided to add one more idea to the mix. Thanks for the suggestions, you all. First, our oven is likely different than yours. Second, our recipe is the traditional French macaron, which we will provide below. If you are using another recipe, your results will likely vary, especially if you use the Italian meringue or the Swiss meringue versions. Finally, we acknowledge our little experiments aren't exact science. We are just doing this for fun and expect it could vary from batch to batch. After all, we're just human. But it will be fun trying some of these suggestions and seeing what happens. I hope you do learn something along the way that will help you as you become a master at making those macarons. We made so many batches of macarons, let me tell you. We measured out even the food coloring for this. It took us dozens and dozens to get this all filmed, so I really hope you find this interesting. We were testing the oven rack position and see if there was a difference in the placement of your macarons within your oven itself. Of course, all ovens are different, so unless you have the exact same one I do, you should expect some variations, but it will give you an idea on what to expect in the future. We also tried the no rest method, and then we tried the oven dried method. We put tray after tray to cool, and we looked at each and every cookie. We did so many experiments, I thought I was going to be sick of macarons by the time I got done. The first experiment we tried was oven temperature. This one in the middle, I want you to try to guess which one it is. We'll come back to it. The very first one is 225 degrees Fahrenheit, 107 degrees Celsius. I was really surprised how tough it was to open this cookie, and once I got it opened, it was kind of sticky and a little bit hollow. The second one was 250, 121 degrees Celsius, and it had similar appearance, but it was a little bit easier to open, but it tasted amazing. At 275, it started to look more like a macaron should. This is 135 degrees Celsius, and it's nice and full on the inside. The outside shell is quite fragile. Once we got to the 325 degrees range, 163 degrees Celsius, it honestly looked like a really good macaron. The coloring was a little bit lighter than what we would like, but we really liked the texture and the feet. Even at 350 degrees Fahrenheit, 177 degrees Celsius, we really liked the texture overall. It had a nice full shell, and the coloring wasn't bad. At 375 degrees Fahrenheit, that's around 191 degrees Celsius. It became quite hard and chewy. The outside was a little bit brown, and we wouldn't recommend it. At 400 degrees Fahrenheit or 204 degrees Celsius, this cookie just was not worth even eating. It had a very thick shell, it was very brown and noticeably different from the inside of the cookie, and it was not a pleasant feeling to eat. What is our mystery cookie baked at? You probably guessed it, 300 degrees Fahrenheit or 149 degrees Celsius, which is usually rounded up to 150 C. It is the perfect consistency for a macaron. It opens up really nice, it's nice and full, and it has that nice chewy texture on the inside. And look who is here to visit, Macaron Maggie. Next experiment, we had some oven dried, then the no rest method, and then we had the oven rack position. Notice the oven rack position, it really does make a difference in the coloring. Can you guess which position gives you the better coloring? Well, the lower it was in the oven, the prettier it became. If you were given a couple of these, would you even care what they look like, or would you just care what they taste like? Keep that in mind when you are making macarons. The majority of people who are eating these are never going to see your flaws. The no rest method, I was kind of not surprised at. I was hopeful, but the feet was just really wonky on here. Some you didn't see any feet at all. Others you would have partial feet and it would be busted open and a gap. They just didn't look right. And then other parts, they looked really good. I did the no rest on every oven rack position just to see if I could get a difference. And there was a difference, but honestly, I wasn't thrilled with any of them. I honestly would never do this method again. And this could be just because we have super high humidity levels in our area. I don't want to tell you not to try it because Humidity does play a factor here. It's not really great, but it's also not full. I was surprised with that one. This one actually looks pretty good. Like it's a pretty full macaron. And this one, oh, I think it's hollow. Yeah, it's got a little bit of hollow, but not too much. That one's pretty good. This one, oh wow, this one's pretty good, but there is a bit of hollow. I was expecting that. And this one just kind of shattered, and it's pretty hollow overall. So for my climate, I probably just wouldn't try this one again because I know that the no rest method just doesn't work well for me. Then we did the oven dried method. I was actually pretty pleased on this, and I did it in also this variation of oven racks. And every single one of them, they had really nice feet. The coloring was pretty good and consistent compared to the others. And I gotta say, I was really happy the way they looked on the outside. But it's the inside that seems to matter at the end. Let's open them up. Okay, well, they're kind of not impressing me at this point. They're kind of more fragile when you push down on them. And depending on the position in the oven, some are almost hollow and others are chewy. It's not something I would go after. Let's go ahead and open up all of them and see what happens. That one doesn't look too bad, but there is still hollow in it. This one, yeah, there's a hollow piece inside. I'm not really surprised. I think that meringue really wants heat, and this was baked at a very, very low temperature. Other people may have really good success, and I'm going to say this could be a user flaw. It just wasn't what I was hoping for. The one on the top actually was the fullest, but the shell was the most brittle. Now let's look at the ones that are the oven rack position. This is the very top closest to the burner. I'm going to crack it open, and it's pretty hollow on the inside, but the outside is very thick. Maggie has come to inspect every single batch. The oven rack position 2, yeah, it's got that same hard texture on top, and it's a little bit hollow, but not as much as the first one. Macaron Maggie is back for inspection, and she can't wait to eat all these leftovers. Now let's look at oven rack 3. This one actually is looking a lot better. It's nice and full. The shell is just a little bit thicker than I would like. It's well done on the inside, and Maggie approves, and here comes Jackson in the background wanting some as well. The center rack position, I am pretty much sure this is going to be the best one, just based on my own experience. It's got a nice pretty shell. It doesn't look too thick just from opening it. The coloring isn't too bad. It's a little bit darker than I would like, but I think if you used a quality food coloring, you wouldn't have this problem at all. When you open it up, it does what it's supposed to do. It just cracks like an eggshell, and it's got a nice full center. It's very lovely and chewy. And if you look up in the corner, you probably can see Maggie's foot. The oven rack position 5 is even more beautiful. I was actually surprised by this, and I have decided to start baking more on that position. The 6 bottom position, oh man, it's kind of gooey, and the shell is much more brittle. It is full, but it's not cooked as well as I'd hoped. I'm not completely surprised by this, but I'm actually more surprised than I should be. It's a little bit tacky. I think if I would have baked it just a little bit longer, they would have been great. And then there's a little bit of feet not showing up. I'm kind of surprised by that. Now let's look at various mixer speeds. If you mix an egg white with high mixer speed, you will end up with bubbles inside your macaron. Parts of it will be nice and full. Other parts of them will be almost completely empty and full of air. It's really kind of interesting how the faster the speed goes, the more bubbles you have. This is a medium speed, for example, and those first 2 were a very high speed or even turbo. This is a low speed, and it's got a lot less air pockets. Look at the difference. This one is a medium low. You do have a little bit of air bubble, but it's got a nice height to it, and the feet are really pretty. Honestly, I kind of like the medium low a little bit better because they look fuller than the low speed, but then you have the air pockets to deal with. Honestly, I don't think it's a big deal. That's just cosmetic. Here's a medium high speed. The feet look really nice, but there are some air pockets again. But honestly, I'd pick either the low or medium low speed because I like the way they look. Our background video is not complete without our Maggie. She is absolutely obsessed with these cookies. We never even knew she liked them until one day she became a counter surfer for the first time in several years, and she has really good manners. And one day I hear this crash in our kitchen, and she has pulled over an entire tray of macarons and is just devouring them all. And if you have noticed, Raymond and Jackson are in the background too. And since Jackson is a pint-sized pup, I'm going to bring him up so you can see how happy he gets when he sees a macaron. All our dogs like them. Now, do not feed anything to your animals without asking your veterinarian first. All animals have dietary restrictions, and we have actually cleared this through our vet. She said it is okay in small moderation. She's only getting the equivalent of 1 macaron shell when we make these. She gets so excited when she sees me making them, and she knows what they smell like. If you even say the word macaron, she comes running. She has been stealing these off the counter for years now, and she thinks they are fabulous. These are a hit for everyone. I hope you learned something from this little experiment. If not, that's okay. I learned a few things. I hope you enjoyed this fun little video. Thank you for watching, and as always, happy baking.